Men, by and large, tend to be as loyal as their options and will only treat you as the prize when they know you have options. It is impossible and improbable for a feminine woman to submit to an effeminate man, even more so when it comes to a masculine woman such as Angela.
He is single. Is that so? Great. I'm not worried about snowboarding. I want to shop.
But you don't cook, don't clean, because you burning up my man. All right. Woo, quality.
It's very clear that there is an agenda to negate Black women's self-esteem and keep them at the bottom of society's totem pole. It's interesting to me that throughout the movie, these accomplished women are still carrying out their domestic duties in the kitchen. Even Angela, operating in her masculinity as the breadwinner, still takes time to cook for her underemployed, unfaithful, and pathologically dishonest husband. You see, these 50-50 dynamics are rarely, if ever, truly 50-50. These men will praise the hardworking, strong, independent woman with her own money, yet they still expect her to uphold her domestic duties and otherwise be traditionally feminine. There isn't anything wrong with men wanting submissive, feminine women, but what is often lost in the conversation is that women only take on that brand of femininity around men when it is safe to do so. Namely, when they are in the presence of a truly masculine man who will allow her to rest comfortably in femininity. Emphasis on rest. Based off of these movies, none of these men demonstrate that quality, so their desires and attitudes towards their wives reek of entitlement. In analyzing the group of men, none of them strike me as a quote-unquote good man, and it is the first instance of all of them in the same scene in the first movie, and their actions in regards to Sheila and Mike that spearheaded this sentiment. These scenes are honestly a very good example of why the Black community is in the position it's in. A huge part of the reason why the dominant society has been able to remain dominant is because the men are not only providers, they are protectors who uplift their women. They understand that their women's position in society is a direct reflection of his own, because they see the women as their counterpart. If he is the strongest man in the world, then she must be the most beautiful. Hence why the standard of beauty is Eurocentric, with most actresses and models reinforcing that standard. Not one of these men defended Sheila against Mike, with Terry even giggling at this milk dud's blatant disrespect towards his own wife.
Yes, y'all know she fat as hell.
The fact that the women were the only ones who checked Mike in the first film is reflective of a greater issue in reality, and that is the complete lack of protection for Black women. Black men are largely complacent in the disparagement and degradation of their counterpart, Black women. The so-called good Black men are a silent minority. There has been no collective effort to enforce accountability for Black men who disrespect Black women, and the evidence of this is obvious, i.e., the mainstream rap music industry being allowed to exist, and all these colorist Black men getting absolutely no pushback from the quote-unquote good Black men. There are far too many men out there who claim to respect women but don't back up these claims with their actions. The reality is, they don't respect or even like women at all. They are cordial to the women they are attracted to, and some of the women within their immediate vicinity. In other words, a woman's value and her being deserving of respect is based solely on her relationship and proximity to him. Being a masculine, good man means protecting and respecting all women who are threatened, not just the ones you share blood with or want to sleep with. The fact that they once again let his bad behavior slide by allowing him to continue on their vacation in the second movie is further evidence of their own depravity, especially when it is later revealed to us that Mike was also physically abusive. Even if Sheila didn't tell her friends he was physically abusive, which I very sincerely doubt since the dinner scene in the last film showed us they know everybody's tea, Mike demonstrated that he was verbally and emotionally abusive, which should have been more than enough for the men to shun him, but they didn't. She is literally a domestic abuse survivor. I don't care that he paid into the timeshare. Those men could have and should have intimidated him into leaving. The only men who prey on vulnerable women are weak men, so I know he would not have pushed back against a group of 3 tall, buff men. Now you should be able to see why I feel that this friend group is so toxic. The group's treatment of Sheila and Mike was just the first red flag of many. Each of their characters display macro and microaggressions that send out vibes of misogynoir and sexism.
We were sitting there thinking of a way to kill our wives and wondering if you could help us.
I'll tell you something. I'm serious, man. I'm so serious right now. If I don't get none, I'm whooping your ass.
On the surface level, Terry is a hardworking family man who is simply in need of soft, feminine energy. And again, this was a missed opportunity to tackle an issue a lot of couples struggle with. However, his character's actions towards his own wife show me he isn't the good guy the movie is framing him out to be. His complaints about wanting to spend time with his wife are really just code words for him desiring physical intimacy. The focus is on his longing for sex with his wife. It's got nothing to do with her essence as a woman. He spends all his time complaining about his wife working 24/7, but not once did he actually ask why she doesn't seem to want to spend time with him, or even why she doesn't want to have another child. When he very passively confronts Mike in the first movie, his motivations for doing so have less to do with chivalry and more to do with his sex life being jeopardized, a blatant display of sexism. The sexism is displayed again when he is licking his wounds in the bar in the second movie, villainizing his wife because he believes the double standard of men cheating being totally different than women cheating. While I do feel that men and women are affected by sex differently, when it comes to cheating, one is not worse than the other. Cheating is cheating. And if we are really gonna get specific, Diane didn't sleep with anyone, so I don't understand why he's even bringing it up. Oh, and in case you still aren't convinced of his hypocrisy, let me remind you of the scene in the first film when he decided to prank his wife and tell her he cheated on her with his secretary or assistant, whatever she was. Not only was Diane willing to overlook his infidelity, she was willing to work past illegitimate twins.
She's pregnant. With twins.
Oh, okay. Okay, you know what? We'll work it out. We'll work it out.
It's almost hurtful to me to watch her be so dumb.
His misogyny bubbles up to the surface when we see him upset. The way he talks to her during their confrontation in the first movie is outrageous.
I'm warning you.
What are you gonna do? Why are you threatening her? I don't care how upset you are. This manner of speaking is aggressive and inappropriate. You should not be trying to intimidate your wife. Period. And this goes even deeper. If he is willing to act this way with his wife and mother of his child, do you really think he would be the type to protect a random black woman on the street? And don't even get me started on his asinine reasoning for DNA testing his daughter.
You are so damn busy that when you got pregnant, we had sex once.
It only takes one time, dummy. What even is this reasoning? In analyzing his character throughout the series and remembering Diane's mentioning that he changed once she got her promotion, I've come to a more sinister, controversial opinion of him. Terry is feeling intimidated, emasculated, and jealous, so he seeks to take his wife down a peg with the baby. Pregnancy and childbirth put an enormous amount of strain on a woman's body and mental, especially for one who is working full time. Diane wants to work, so it's weird to me that he wants to damper the happiness she gets from her career by pushing for another baby. If she is to be the present parent I know Terry is expecting her to be, she's going to have to put her career on hold. If he wants a child so bad, he could maybe talk with Diane about adopting an older child in need of a loving family, because babies are very high maintenance. Or he could just go find a woman who wants to birth one. I don't even understand why this is an issue for them. This is something that should have been discussed before marriage. The desire for children is not something you can or should compromise on, and it's really not hard for people to find their perfect match in this regard. Can we talk about how insane it is for me to be wondering why this couple is even together when the titles of the movies are Why Did I Get Married? This man is a filmmaker worth $1 billion. I can't. I also want to highlight his attitude towards his wife in the second movie. He gets the son he wanted, implying reversing a tube tying surgery and then getting pregnant after is no big deal for a full-time working woman, a total fallacy, but he becomes suspicious of and privy to his wife's wandering eye, not because he caught her sneaking around, but because his wife is happy.
Babe, what is it?
What?
You're just so happy. What's going on? What am I missing? You must have had a really great day at work. You're so happy, honey. 63 days ago, honey, you came home and you were different. You're happier than I've ever seen you. From that day to this one, you just get happier and happier.
Now, Diane had been dishonest, such as the lie about the flowers not coming with the card, but he is ultimately suspicious because his wife appears to be happier. Even her friends point out the glow, which honestly just further proves my point that Diane is unhappy and would be better off divorcing Terry.
Gavin's got a point. We really need to be rational about this. We really need to be rational about this.
I love you. I love you.
We need to be rational about this.
Give me the money.
You want to be a bitch? Then there's your man, Gavin.
It is on. You tell her to prepare for a fight.
Boy, stop.
It's about to be a girl fight.
Speaking of divorce, Gavin's character was another man who totally set off the alarm bells of my intuition. He was relatively normal until the scene of the movie where he was intentionally triggering his wife with baby pictures of their son. I'm not a psychologist, but this scene made my skin crawl because it just seems so unethical. Why couldn't they just go to therapy? This is not the way to solve trauma. Going to therapy would have also avoided embarrassing Patricia at the dinner table because the two of them would have hashed out their feelings in a safe, private, productive environment. I was wondering if I was just being biased because of the actor, but then the second movie proved that nope, my intuition was right.
I am so powerful. Oh.
The first red flag was his passive-aggressive comment within the first day of them getting in the vacation home, and then his anger at Patricia announcing their divorce. I will agree that they should have come to a consensus on when to make the announcement since they share this group of friends, but dude, come on, the snide remark is already letting anyone with ears know that there's trouble in paradise. The second red flag comes when they start working out the terms of the divorce and he decides that he is entitled to a portion of Patricia's writer's salary.
It's ours.
Ours? Gavin, that's the money I made from my book sales. Why would I include that in the settlement?
No, it's what we built together, Patricia.
We?
We.
We. What page did you write, Gavin? What book tour or lecture were you on?
Patricia, how many nights did I stay up all night listening to you and your ideas and giving you some of mine?
Yeah, but Gavin, I didn't use not one of your ideas.
Oh, yeah.
Well, just as I thought, trash.
The only reason he would be entitled to that money is if Patricia was actually the breadwinner of the household. So it's a thinly veiled reference of the tired stereotype of a black woman in a hypogamous role reversal dynamic. And as much as his demands disgust me, I do feel that he would legally be entitled to the money, provided that he was in fact playing house husband. I remember women feeling some type of way recently about Adele having to allegedly pay her husband in their divorce settlement, and I don't understand why. Y'all advocate for the right to wear the pants and then want to cry when you actually have to wear them. I feel that the legal system is justified in these situations because 1, women in hypogamous relationships are entitled to the same thing, and 2, I view cases like these as incentives to practice hypergamy over hypogamy. I would never respect a man who feels entitled to my money, but I also would never marry a man I out-earn. So the lesson here, ladies, if you don't want to pay him, make sure he's paying you. However, there is no mention that Gavin is a stay-at-home dad or house husband, and remember that Patricia was still carrying out her domestic duties in the kitchen. Plus, the first movie makes it a point to mention that he is a successful architect, so his entitlement to Pat's book revenue is that much more egregious. When I did the research, I found that the average architect's salary is right around $80,000 to $100,000 range, a small pebble to Pat's $800,000. But if Gavin was so successful, then he shouldn't be concerned with his wife's bag at all. However, considering that his architect's salary is that much lower, I understand why and how he has the audacity The final nail in the coffin for me was seeing Gavin torment Patricia. This, in my eyes, is his true self, his inner repressed masculinity on full display and rearing its ugly head. The saying, "drunk man tells no lies," comes to mind. Seeing this ugliness and the vindictive, vitriolic way he burns their deceased son's baby pictures likens him to Terry in my eyes, in that when he expressed a desire for a new child, he wasn't truly interested in a legacy. He secretly wanted to slow his hard-working wife down with a baby. The movie frames his untimely dying as a tragedy, but in my eyes, it was karmic retribution for his despicable behavior. The worst part about his death is that his friends came together to mourn him as if he was an honorable man. To me, this is yet another example of the martyrdom granted to Black men that allows them to dodge accountability within the Black community.
Hey, Mike.
You trying to play me some kind of fool or something? What the hell are you doing here, Sheila?
I might.
Taking him to kill him.
I don't care.
I might.
Talk to you. Let's get up.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Okay.
Notice that the first movie only highlights Troy's sex appeal. There is no mention of his actual manhood as a provider and protector for Sheila. In her own words, "Sheila's been taken care of all her life. It's time for her to be a strong and independent woman." Also, take into account that she is working at the shop that was Troy's father's dream. She is literally helping build a man's legacy.
If it wasn't for you, this place wouldn't even be open again. Now, my daddy loved this store. It's his lifelong dream, this place.
How interesting is it that the only quote-unquote good Black man in the movie, Troy, is one who apparently doesn't have a relationship with his mother. The movie makes a very brief mention of his parents being married for 45 years, but the movie only emphasizes Troy's relationship with his father. What happened to his mom? Then, in the second movie, the two of them are married with a newborn, but worried about money, yet that didn't stop them from, quote, spending their last on this destination vacation. Number one, why in the world did they make such a far move without Troy having a job lined up? Number two, why the F are they spending their savings on a vacation? This is grossly fiscally irresponsible, and to me just demonstrates that Troy is not a truly good, traditionally masculine man like this movie wants us to believe. A truly masculine man is not going to have his wife, let alone his wife who is busy raising his newly born child, worrying about the household in this manner. He would be a problem solver who understands that it is his responsibility to keep her safe in order for her to maintain her feminine best, so that she can not only be an ideal mother, but so that she can remain the slice of heaven on earth and peace of mind prize he earns through carrying out his masculine duties. I am further convinced of his insufficiencies when the plot has Sheila going out of her way to ask her former abuser for help. Ergo, rather than him demonstrating his problem-solving abilities, it is his woman who saves him. His ego naturally and understandably to an extent, resents this help, but that is absolutely no excuse for the heinously hostile way he talks to his wife when he discovers her at Mike's house. And you know what, come to think of it, why was she even answering the door? I guess Mike was tired with chemo. Okay, I digress. While I do think it's totally inappropriate for Sheila to be helping Mike so personally, not only because he doesn't deserve it, but also because it depicts the coddling of black men and the superwoman trope that black women are indoctrinated to fill, that still does not justify Troy's aggressiveness. Sheila is his wife and mother of his child. How dare he speak to her in this manner? If he is really that mad, then he should channel that anger into finding another job opportunity that will enable him to provide for his family and soothe his male ego. But taking a minute to play devil's advocate, I will say that this scene was an accurate, albeit very extreme, representation of the way men will resent you for taking on their manly responsibilities, even if they won't outright admit to it.
Mike, where is Sheila?
Oh, I made her drive. We flew. I'll be more than fair. You can have the rental property. I have pocketbook bars on it for you, so don't thank me for this. It's a rough neighborhood.
You know, he emptied out my bank account. He's got cancer! That is so sad. No, what?
Mike demonstrates himself as a neglectful narcissist, and if you know anything about narcissism, then you know that there is no changing them. You just need to run. Don't walk. Run as far away as you can. I don't feel the need to go too much into his character analysis because he isn't very complex. Instead, I have to ask this question. Why is it that Mike's comeuppance comes from seeing Sheila with another man? Why couldn't it have been seeing Sheila glowing and thriving without him or any other man? And then, if you really had to, since this is apparently a romantic comedy, Sheila meets a man at Pat's event. Furthermore, why are they even seated next to each other? And why is Mike even there? This is Pat's event. Even if he's still friends with Gavin, he's not friends with Pat. So, again,
Paul, why is you here?
Sheila forgiving him isn't about her doing it for her own sake. No, it's because she didn't want to take out that bitterness on Troy. In typical narcissistic fashion, he doesn't apologize to Sheila because he genuinely feels bad and it's the right thing to do. He comes to her after being diagnosed with cancer because the threat of eternal spiritual damnation is the only thing that can inspire him to be a decent human being.
Because every time Marcus lies, he says, know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Hey, you know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
I am doing my best.
That's how we love each other.
Last but not least, we have Marcus, who, like his wife, is a very shallow caricature. Marcus is a promiscuous, dishonest, baby mama drama suffering, emasculated, former athlete turned broke boy turned sports commentator. The total package of dusty cliches. My biggest gripe about his character is that he justifies remaining in his toxic, exhaustive relationship because, quote,
Making up is insane.
Okay.
This is a blatant display of Marcus's dumbassery and low caliber. There is no making up. You guys don't even make love. If they were actually making up, they would, number one, be using their words, and number two, wouldn't have the same issues over the course of two 2-hour movies. From a psychological perspective, his promiscuity is a way of attempting to, quote, man up. He doesn't enact any of the other tenets of masculinity, and so he operates with his one and only claim to the fame of manhood, his literal manhood. The bedroom is the only place he feels he can dominate his horrid wife. Contrary to what the so-called progressive media is feeding us, sex is a sacred ritual that affects us spiritually as well as physically. Marcus is doing himself a huge disservice, not only by being around a woman who tears him down, but by engaging his most vulnerable body part inside a woman who consciously does her best to tear him down. At the same time, I have to say that Marcus's willing engagement in being with this woman puts a spotlight on his low self-esteem as well as his low caliber. He is operating at a low vibration, feeding his carnal desires and operating solely from his root chakra, the lowest chakra, as opposed to feeding into his higher self. You are the company you keep. And since he has made it clear he doesn't see that much of a problem with her behavior, being that he hasn't initiated a divorce, I am not going to waste energy feeling sorry for him. He is a willing participant in his own victimization. It is what it is. If this is what Black marriage in America looks like, then no wonder the Black community is the way it is. Ironically enough, you can draw many parallels from these few married couples in the films to the many unmarried couples in real life. Contrary to the banal, underdeveloped, quote, happy endings these movies present, these dynamics and actions lead to more harm than good. If you want to achieve true balance in the realm of romantic relationships, then understand this. A good man is a gift, but a good woman is the prize. Meaning, a good man is given, but a good woman is earned. Both movies frame the men as the prize, with the women being the sole issue in each relationship and the ones mainly responsible for mending them. Now, you can subscribe to this line of thinking if you want to. If you enjoy these movies because they're a direct mirror for your own relationship and you're truly happy, then fine, continue to live your life as you see fit. However, for the vast majority of women who take the time to meditate and really be honest with themselves, this is not going to bring you happiness and fulfillment. In fact, since you've been guided to my channel and stayed this long, I'd wager that all of what I've said is pulling the blinders off, and you're slowly but surely realizing you haven't been happy in a long time. If you're going to live your life in this manner, don't complain about being overworked and stressed. And for any men watching, don't complain about your woman being too brash and haggard and tired all the time. Men are not entitled to femininity. They have to earn it by proving their masculinity, which involves much more than having a penis. I know this will be triggering because it challenges the status quo, but listen, I don't make the rules, I just reiterate them. It's never too late to start living the life you want to live. You just have to start being honest about the life you're already living. As I stated earlier, my goal isn't to criticize the Black community for the sole sake of criticizing. I'd been inspired to start my YouTube channel after coming across a few feminine hypergamy channels, but also in seeing some of the harassment targeted at Black women who dare to challenge these notions of Black love and inspire Black women to raise their standards by showing them that there is another way. Not only that, but my image, the lighter-skinned, racially ambiguous woman, has been weaponized against Black women, and I completely resent this. I'm tired of women who look like me being silent or worse, contributing to the erasure and disparagement. I've experienced too many synchronicities to feel that I'm putting my nose where it doesn't belong. I know I am living my purpose. My channel is a channel for all women, so don't feel alienated with me highlighting the plights of a certain demographic. The guidelines and themes I mention aren't exclusively for the Black community. They are references to natural, spiritual laws that affect the whole of humanity. We are all spiritual beings having a human experience. If we as a society are to ascend, then we have to each do our part by being actual allies for the most vulnerable among us. I know that my videos are going to be triggering and uncomfortable for many because the pill of realizing you've been lied to your whole life is a very hard one to swallow. But it is because I have swallowed that same bitter pill that I am so unapologetic with the views I express. The first step in the age of Aquarius is bringing clarity. The second step is cleansing, and that starts with challenging narratives that have been proven to not work. As always, I want to hear your feedback and suggestions for other movies to watch. Remember to rate the video and subscribe to stay updated. Thank you so much for being here. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video.